What do you mean by meme a little?
Just
Alright, got
be
the pick.
the funny selves that we all
Talk
are. 'Cause
about
Funny?
Fun.
Us?
wholesome
Dude.
Keanu Chungus 100.
Oh, God.
what if we were already recording right now?
Well, that's the thing, I have been.
Maybe we should just
Hi guys, welcome to the Birdwatch podcast. Where today we're talking about things. Crazy, right?
Video games. I hate
I'm
video
stuff.
games.
I love video games, and I never.
I'm
get to
video
play them.
games.
You are video games?
And
I'm
I'm
video
Lithium
games.
Battery, and joining us today is, starting from the top, we have Frosty Boygrim,
Life is pain.
Ethan VL.
Let's video games.
I'm so happy to finally have you. Jort Knight, Kevin, 67, aka
You guys-
Techno.
You guys stole my intro.
Yeah, I know. We got Mustard Sauce,
I'm your favorite condiment, and you know it.
and we have Chic Phantom.
Thank you for saying my full name.
Yes, you're welcome, Mr. Phantom. That's how I was taught to address people.
I was raised with respect.
And
Very
integrity.
good lithium battery inverted pentagram emoji.
Oh, please. That's what my father calls me. You could just call me Lith. Anyways,
Glad no one said my full name.
I was not going to attempt to.
Exclamation point var gamer equals at FrostyBoyGrim.
Sorry, Frosty.
No,
I don't
I'm-
read variables. I only read integers.
Disgusting. Bro, it's all about booleans, bro. You
Is
gotta
it?
bool it up.
Oh, God. Anyways.
Okay. Anyways,
this whole time.
speaking of video games,
Speaking of
I
video
love
games.
them.
Yeah. I love them too. Let's talk about the video games that we've been playing recently. Also, I think you might want to take off the Discord noise suppression thing. It is suppressing too much. It's basically the police at this point.
You're
Noise
being
suppression
oppressed.
powered by
Fight the
Chris.
oppression.
I fought the oppression. I'm free.
Yo, he did
Let's
it.
go.
He's free.
Let's go. America is great once again.
All right, so anybody want to start first with the video games that they've been playing this week?
No one
I'll go.
does.
Yeah,
I'll
might as well
go.
go down the top of the list. All right, let's go.
True.
So, for the most part, I've just been sort of bouncing around. Today's been one of those slow weeks where it's like I've had a number of days off, but I haven't been super motivated to play anything new or different, really. Just either hang out with my friends or play some TF2. So, yeah, I played some TF2. It's been fun. It's the bot problem has somehow gotten worse now that Halloween's over, but crazy, right? No, it's insane. But yeah, it's somehow gotten worse now that Halloween's over. I guess mainly because you can't jump on Halloween servers and be bot free. But whatever. They really need to get that sorted out. Played Minecraft. It's Minecraft. It's decently fun. I'd really like to do something like Tekkit with my friends, but like it's hard for us to set up without actually having a server, and I've never used it before, so I'm like really confused about everything. So that's not great, but it's Minecraft. And then I also picked back up Terraria a little bit in my master mode world, and played a little bit more of that. Just kind of been working on my house, making it look nice. Nothing big.
Nice.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds about it.
I am just shocked to hear that the bot problem has somehow gotten worse, especially after they implemented that bot stuff a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah, no, it hasn't. It actually has been worse than this since they enabled it. It's worse than it was in Halloween, but for that little bit before Halloween, it was, I think, the worst it's ever gotten. And especially because there are bots that have gotten around the free-to-play problem. They can type and chat. They can. Some of them have used voice chat still to spam songs or like ear rape stuff. It's really bad. They found ways to get around it. I think for the most part, if any of you guys have seen like gotten weird Steam messages of like, hey, want to join my competitive thing, or like vote for my competitive team, or like really fishy trades that lead to non-Steam websites. I think what they're doing is they're taking pay-to-play accounts and then using those as bots, since they could get around a lot of the restrictions that free-to-plays have. Though I'm not 100% sure. There's still a big problem. They're still annoying. It feels like now more than ever, there's less Malenko anti-bot bots and it's just really a
gonna
problem
ask
that
about
Valve's going to
those.
need to fix, because there have been servers that I've gotten into that have been like 6 or 7 bots, and you join and you have to immediately leave, because if you don't, they're not going to get kicked. There's too many of them.
Yeah.
What about the creators.tf stuff?
I
Try
haven't
that?
played. I haven't played on creators in a while, just because I've been really caught up with trying to prestige and casual, since I'm like right there, and I played community servers for so long that like I didn't even know that prestiging was a thing until like a few months ago, because I had just been playing on community servers so long and not leveling up at all. So I just kind of want to hit that prestige mark, because I'm seriously like 1 level away.
So you have played creators.tf. Is that better?
I
Or, like,
have.
How is
At the time, it was better, but at least the U.S. West servers weren't always populated, and that's one of the things that was kind of a bummer for me. Is that for the most part, I'd have to go and hang out on U.S. East servers, because there was only about usually 1 U.S. West server that was populated, and it was always almost full. And I like playing at half full servers, so they just really didn't have a lot of people there for me, which I found strange, especially after VNN like really promoted it hard, and I'd hope to see more people there, because that would give me more incentive to play.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's hope that the bot issue gets addressed in the future, because one of these days I might like to hop back on TF2. All right, continuing on down the line, Ethan, what have you been playing recently?
Well, with the new Kingdom Hearts game that happened 2 days ago, I believe now, I've been on a bit of a JRPG craze, so I've been playing through that series again a bit, and a little bit of Earthbound at one point, I believe.
Oh, all right.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a little bit of Tales of Fantasia, and I want to go through Final Fantasy VII Remake again at some point, so that's
I do
planned,
too.
at least.
I want to wait for that to come to PC first. Watched you play Kingdom Hearts 2 the other day. That's your favorite game, right?
Yeah,
It looks really fun to play.
Sorry.
it certainly is. It has its issues, but gameplay-wise, it's near perfection as far as ARPGs can go. It feels really great
So
to
good.
play.
I remember the first time I've ever been exposed to Kingdom Hearts, and you know what it was? It is a manga. Because I got this when I was like 8 years old or something. I got this
I've seen some of
book. I
those.
got this book drop from my cousin, and it was just in there. It was just this random issue, and I was looking. It's like anime people with Mickey Mouse. What? Like
Unheard of.
It was crazy. I didn't really have access to the internet at the time, so I had no way of like solving this mystery. But I don't even know if I still have it. But like it was just like, whoa. I heard about it later.
Yeah,
And
I think
was like, yeah.
my first time, I must have been like 5 or 6. I was super young, and one of the first consoles I had, the first 2 consoles really were a Wii and a PS2 Slim, which I still have, and it's like plugged in over near my TV. And I had a copy of Kingdom Hearts that my dad had got, and I played it. And I thought it was so hard, because I was just a stupid kid. And it turns out like when I got it a few years later, I want to say maybe I was 12, 13, and I got it again and started playing. I realized how stupid I was, because I couldn't even make it past the first island, because I got stuck at the stupid question part, because I could barely read, because I was like a little kid, so I didn't know what was happening at all, and I like couldn't comprehend it fully, which I guess is part of the problems. You know, when you can't read, and you kind of need to read it, it makes it a little difficult. But I then came back. I played through the game. I still have, I think, like over 100 hours in the first one, but I never beat the final boss, because I wanted to get all of the Dalmatians, and one of them is still locked behind the Phantom of the like the Tower Phantom thing, that fight, and I'm like too scared to do that fight,
Neverland
because it sounds
Phantom?
so annoying. Yeah. And it just sounds so annoying that I don't want to do it, so I just literally never beat the original first game. It's just sitting there like almost complete.
It's definitely the most tedious fight. I can't
It
blame
just
you.
doesn't sound fun. So later, when I got a PS4, I bought the 1.5 plus 2.5 and 2.8, and I just started playing through all the games. I played Dream Drop Distance on my 3DS sometime. I know some people don't like it, but I have really heavy sentimental value for it, since it was the first
I feel
game.
that.
It was the first Kingdom Hearts I actually got to beat, and I really enjoyed it. playing it on the 3DS, and then playing it again in HD was awesome. 2 Final Mix was seriously one of my favorite games that I had ever played. I still love that shit. That shit was so fun. And then playing 3 when it finally came out, I got it a few months after it came out. Awesome. Just so much fun.
I had the first one, and I mostly enjoyed my time with it, but then I got to the Ursula boss fight, and I rage quit, and I didn't pick the game back up ever since then. I hate that fight so much.
As I found out like a couple weeks ago, that's actually something you can skip. So if
I'm gonna replay it again.
Second time,
I'm skipping that. I'm not doing that level with the awkward swimming controls, trying to fight this awful boss at the same time. It's just
That's very
fair. The later games like Kingdom Hearts 2, it makes anything that changes your standard gameplay just becomes outright optional. Like,
good.
Atlantica is still there, but it's like basically one giant musical, and it's entirely optional. So
yeah, I'm not touching that.
It's kind of fun though. I'd be lying if I like said that I didn't kind of enjoy it like a little bit. Like it's just a rhythm game. It really changes the pace a lot.
Yeah.
Well, if it changes the pace for the better, then that's good to know.
Is it like those Rayman levels?
No.
Musical Rayman? Oh, okay.
No. It's like the
QTEs.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Never mind.
All right. What about you, Jordan Knight? What have you been playing this week?
On the Kingdom Hearts thing, my only experience it was at my school's book fair. They were doing a raffle for giving away books, and I won a Kingdom Hearts manga. I was like,
Yo.
I've never read the manga, but I've heard decent things about it. Sometimes good to great things. So
yeah, I thought it was a really bad comic book, and I didn't like how it was backwards. I was like, I don't know this.
How do you even read this? It makes
That's
no
everyone's
sense.
first like impression of a manga. They're like, wait, what the hell? Isn't this the front of the book? Oh wait, what? It's backwards.
What's
I
crazy?
think actually it was one of my that was my first like exposure to manga was this random Kingdom Hearts thing. Like, what? Why are the credits here?
I can't remember what mine was. I think it was either a One Piece one or the Kingdom Hearts one, because I remember the Kingdom Hearts one from when I went to school. Oh, it was one of the two.
For some reason, those mangas are everywhere, and I don't know
apparently
why.
I don't know why either.
They were at my school too. They had like 3 different volumes, and I don't know why.
I didn't have them, but what we did have instead was like a Legend of Zelda manga. And actually, my brother still has it.
Oh, I didn't know those existed.
I own the manga adaptation of Ocarina of Time.
I think
it's
my
not
brother
great.
Like say things?
Yes, actually, he talks.
Whoa,
Crazy.
It's so weird.
It's so weird.
that's nuts.
To continue the Kingdom Hearts story, so I was like, I don't want this, and then one of my friends came up to me like, hey, we could trade for a little bit. I'll give you this DS game of Kingdom Hearts, and I'll take the manga. And I was like, okay. So I took the game, and I was like, man, this is really fun. And then he moved, so he never got it back.
Right to that guy.
Great time.
It's not much lost.
Not much lost. I enjoyed the game, and he had a manga now.
So everybody wins in the end, I guess.
Fair enough.
Have you been playing any video games lately?
Of course, I've been playing Ori and the Blind Forest.
How is that?
It's really fun. I really like it.
I love that game.
It's adorable. I like the what's it called? Punting, kicking, whatever it was, where you like grab onto the enemies and you can send them flying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like how you platform off of other enemies as projectiles.
I love that you could do it on like projectiles too. It's
so
a
cool
mechanic. And just like going around and unlocking items. I really want to 100% complete it, but then there's this, what is it called? Ice level, I guess. Where you like need to pick up this ball, and it allows you to walk on the like fire steps, and you can walk up walls with it too. I hate it.
Oh, that one. I didn't mind that one.
I hate it.
Oh.
I think I should pick that up.
Maybe it's because I played it with drifting Joy-Cons, but I hated it.
Okay.
During the next Steam sale, I think I should, at the very least, pick up Blind Forest.
You definitely should.
You definitely should. It's great. It's not very long. You can probably beat it in like less than 10 hours.
Oh, that's totally fine. Actually, that's perfect. And it's a Metroidvania from what I understand too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, I'm gonna love it then.
Super
Awesome.
fun, adorable. I say that
More
one.
people into Ori.
I played it because Ori was in Rivals. I was like, this seems like fun.
After binging the Metroid series this past year, I I've had an urge to play more Metroidvanias. So things like Ori and Hollow Knight and stuff like that, Guacamelee, I really want to play at some point next year.
Oh, you know how to make my day, Lith.
I'm glad I do.
Awesome. Metroidvanias, I could go on so long about them. They're my favorite. They're probably one of my favorite genres out there.
Yeah, honestly, it's starting to become one of mine too. God, playing the Metroid games this year is such a good decision that I have made.
Awesome. Great for you.
Thank you. All right, so as for me, what I've been playing this week, I just started Tales of Symphonia. I'm playing the PC port. There's not a whole lot I can really say about it. I'm only about 3 hours in, and there is a lot of systems to learn. It's an action RPG. It's not really like Kingdom Hearts though. But it's an interesting little game. It's nothing that I've ever played before. And I'm really interested in seeing how it all plays out. It's pretty charming. It's dated in some regards, mainly with the visuals and the character animations. It's a little funky. There's this area that I'm in, and the guards walk like they're T-posing, and they're just like slightly moving their elbows forward as they walk, and it's really funny to watch. But otherwise, despite that, I see the charm, and I really want to stick with it, and I hope by the end of the game I do end up really liking it.
Nice. Yeah. I have it, but I'm not a huge RPG guy, so it's like when I get around to seriously trying out some RPGs, I'll definitely give it a shot. But
as always, I will always recommend either Chrono Trigger or Super Mario RPG if you're trying out RPGs.
I want to get back to Chrono Trigger, but I lost that save when I switched PCs, and it was like far enough as to which I don't really want to go that far because
I'm sure that like either I can find the save for you or something along those lines. Something to get you back up there.
If I could find a save to like the general areas, and I'll definitely pick it up again.
Okay. I'll take a look when we're done recording. Actually.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
At one point with Symphonia, we tried the multiplayer, but oh man,
that didn't work out very well.
Not at all. It's a shame.
Yeah.
So the way the multiplayer works is, you've got multiple characters, right? As you would expect in an RPG like that. Well, the way the camera works is that all of the enemies and player one have to be on screen at the same time.
Yeah.
So, if player one is like up close and personal with the enemies, and every other player is not, then only player one will be able to see what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, like the other characters will just be off screen, so if you are playing multiplayer, it becomes a huge hassle, especially if you're trying to play a mage, because one of the characters specifically is not built to be fighting enemies up close. So
yeah, and it's if you look into it at all, it's the same response from pretty much everybody. That the only way to really fix that is for player one to always use the mage character.
And stand as far back as possible so that the camera pulls out as far back as possible.
Yeah. It's kind of a shame, but...
It's rough, yeah.
It's probably experimental in the first place.
Probably, yeah. It's an earlier title.
Like, real-time RPG multiplayer? Like, that's kind of unheard of.
Sort of Mana did it. in a 2D game, but yeah.
Secret of Mana.
Or Secret of Mana, my mistake. What were you trying to say, Phantom?
I don't know a lot about Tales.
Mhm.
Actually, scratch that. I know jack shit about Tales.
Well, he's a fox.
It is.
He first appeared in Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I'm not
People
funny.
want-
Go ahead.
People want Tails in Smash.
Yeah.
The Tails man.
The Tails man.
John
you-
Tails.
Joe Tails.
But I do want to try out some RPGs, and I
Mhm.
know nothing about how. Well, I already said I know nothing,
Yeah.
and
All that I know is that I know nothing.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're getting in RPGs, the two you have to give a shot at least: Mario RPG and Chrono Trigger.
Mhm.
Definitely Chrono Trigger.
I
Definitely
think
Chrono
I said
Trigger.
this before,
If-
but I am switching Mario RPG for Thousand Year Door because it
Go
looks
for
much
it.
more appealing to me.
Okay.
Chrono Trigger is one I will pick up though.
That's good
If-
to know.
If you can't get behind Chrono Trigger, then it's a safe bet to say that the RPG genre just isn't yours.
I would still, at the very least, try an action RPG like Tales, though,
Mhm.
because they are just so radically different from turn-based.
They really are.
JRPGs, then.
Mm.
I also wanted
If you
to
can't
try
get behind it, then there you
Yeah.
go.
this. Yeah, this isn't a JRPG, but I also wanted to try Knights of the Old Republic because if it's Star Wars, it's automatically already appealing to me.
Mm. It
It's
plays
Lucas
like
Arts game.
It plays like Xenoblade Chronicles, I remember. I didn't play it for very long because I don't like that kind of combat, but like you issue characters general commands and they kind of just stand there and attack, and it bores me to do that even more so than turn-based games. But
I'll have to see.
I have to give it another shot myself. I don't want to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. It's been years since I've played either Knights of the Old Republic or Xenoblade, and that was like the only thing that I remember about either of them is that they both play like each other.
All I know is that it's Star Wars, so it's automatically good.
I
Unless
wish that
they're
were.
made by Disney
Next topic.
and not Rogue One.
Anyways, we
Mustard.
skipped over Mustard. What have you been playing?
No worries. All right. Okay. All right. So there's a bit of change in plans on my topic. I was gonna mention, the game that we just played last night,
Mhm.
called SCP Secret Laboratory,
Really fun.
which is a great game.
Mhm.
But I don't know why I didn't think of this before. I should talk about frickin' Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh yes.
I don't know why I haven't mentioned before. All right, so for anyone who's listening, I am one of 7 billion people. No, sorry, one of like maybe 2 people. I messed up that ratio. That have never played Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time before. Never. I don't know nothing. I don't know a thing about it. Before this, the only Zelda games I've ever played: Breath of the Wild, Zelda 2 on my NES when I was a wee lad, and frickin' SNES Link to the Past. Yeah. So recently, well, not recently. I've had the game for a while. I've been getting into playing it because I want to see what the hype is about, and it's fun. Like
Mhm.
I'm really digging it. Doing a lot of things wrong apparently. Apparently I don't play it like other people play it.
It's
they've
go
been
ahead.
watching. They know.
Go ahead.
I'm
uh,
still prepared for your water temple trip. Ooh.
All right, yeah. So okay, spoilers for the other person who's never played Legend of Zelda before. I finished the Death Mountain beat
Fire
beat
temple.
Fire
beat the
Temple.
fire
Yep.
beat the fire temple with the fire lizard, and then I just beat the Sheikah Thief hideout.
Gerudo Fortress.
Gerudo Fortress.
Mhm.
Keep messing it up.
It's okay.
And then with the horseback riding, which Lith told me it's garbage, but I love it. It's so fun.
I don't like the horseback archery, but for the record, dear viewers, if you've ever played Ocarina of Time, he did the Gerudo Fortress many dungeons before you're supposed to do it. Like he hasn't even gotten to Zora's domain and done the water temple yet.
Oh
but he's
my
done
God.
but he's done Gerudo Fortress.
Yep.
It's been a bit since I've played the vanilla game,
Mhm.
but how many dungeons later would you normally do the fortress again?
You need to do 2 more dungeons before you would go to Gerudo normally.
Alright.
It went well.
Yeah. So
Also-
anyway, it's held up very well. I'm surprised. I'm playing on original hardware. I'm using the boomerang, the N64 controller, which I'll always defend it. I think it's still comfortable. I'm also in the minority on this one too. I'm aware. Other single person who also believes the same way. You know what's up.
Sure.
It I'm surprised by how well it holds up. It's just it's the controls are good. It's surprisingly easy for being one of the first few like Zelda games. No 3D. No, the first 3D Zelda game. It works very well. The Z targeting sometimes it's hard to get who you want, but like it does its job when it works. The platforming is not terrible. The menu is kind of cringe, but it's fine. They were trying stuff out. Yeah, I'm having a good time, and I can't wait to play some more. And I would play more if I just had more time.
For the first 3D Zelda, it has aged surprisingly well.
I think that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are some of the only early 3D games that I think have aged well and that I really consistently enjoy to this day. I don't like most of the games from like PS1 or Nintendo 64, but those two are phenomenal, and I still love them today.
It still looks great. Like there's like some of the stuff. Like I'm looking around, it's like, this is an N64. Wow, it's like when you're in that little town, like off town area, and you're looking up at Death Mountain in the distance with like these huge, just like spinning like death clouds.
I love its aesthetic.
I'm just like, whoa, that's so cool. That's so cool.
When you become an adult for the first time and you go to the market and it's destroyed and there's redeads everywhere, it's the first time you experience that really sticks with you.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's such a strong, great game.
Yes, Phantom?
Zelda, Metroid, Mario, most of those Nintendo games, I've been spoiled about them since I have a memory. So I can never fully experience them like you would. But I fear.
I haven't been spoiled for Legend of Zelda, like Ocarina of Time. Like I know, like you kill Ganon in the end. Yahoo, you did it.
Yeah,
but
predictable.
And I know who Sheik is because I've played Brawl. I know I know who it is. But yeah, I don't know anything about what I'm supposed to be doing in this game. I'm going in completely blind, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I was the same way with Metroid too. Like I know the basic gist of all the Metroid games, but I went into every Metroid game blind, and it was just so incredible.
Better for it.
Phantom, did we actually talk about what game you've been playing?
No, we did not.
Alright, let's get into that real quick.
Yep.
Well, I finally got to the Mega Man X games. I've had the Legacy collections, both of them. I don't know why they made two, for a few months now. So I've been meaning to play them this year. I'm fairly familiar with the first game. Like I said, I've been spoiled for Zelda and Metroid since I have a memory. I was also spoiled for Mega Man X since I have a memory. I played it a little in the past, and I've seen playthroughs, but I never beat it myself. And I corrected that. It is a very good game. Probably one of the best SNES games, like top 3 maybe. And I know this is standard for Mega Man in general. Going in my own order and figuring out the strategies for each Maverick is really fun. And the addition of, spoilers, a boss rush in the end, which Mega Man games usually have, made sure I knew how to take on each Maverick. This very structure I really like. I know it will be very fun to revisit this game. None of these stages are too hard. They're
not
balanced.
too long either. I'm looking forward to replaying it.
Once you already know the game, you'll get through them quickly. The Mavericks themselves are also fairly balanced. Some of them, namely the Armadillo and the Octopus, can be hard even with the weakness sometimes, but nothing too tough. The final stages, I was a little surprised when I got to them. They're way harder. They have their own sub-bosses. Only issue I had with them was the way they packed. This is also spoilers, obviously. I'm spoiling this game. One part with 5 Mavericks, plus the stage's boss. Felt a little unbalanced when the first one had 1 boss and 1 Maverick, and the second one had 2 Mavericks. Plus the boss. The finale is satisfying and difficult to master. This game will make sure you know how to wall jump with those last fights, and it was no doubt the hardest part of the game for me. And beating it felt very satisfying. It's never tedious enough to feel unfair or poorly designed in my opinion, for the most part. That's the first game. I intended to play the first 3 games before this podcast was recorded, but I underestimated both my ability to sit down and play a damn game and the difficulty of these games.
Yeah,
they're not very easy.
They're not long, but they are challenging. They're not the hardest in the world, but they will test you. Especially towards the end of X. Towards the end of X, I was getting whooped a lot, but yeah, no. I've only ever played Mega Man X. That's the only Mega Man game I've played thus far. Really enjoyed it. I really want to play more, but a good friend of mine keeps pressuring me to playing the NES games beforehand, and so I've been putting them off. But I'm finally gonna take the plunge at some point next year.
I ignored that and launched right into Mega Man X2.
Fair.
Because I do not care about NES games. Almost beat the final boss before recording this episode, but I think that's far enough that I can tell you how I feel about it.
Yeah.
The main critique that I had heard about Mega Man X2 was that it didn't change much about the first game's gameplay, which it doesn't. But I didn't really mind it. That's
not usually an issue. Yeah.
I enjoyed it a lot, and no stages or Mavericks felt derivative. They were all distinct. They were all unique, and I enjoyed them a lot.
Good to hear.
And now that I think about it, I don't know if I like them more or less than X1's. I knew much less of this game, and no stage had any essential upgrade like the Dash and Chill Penguins. So I enjoyed traversing the stages in my own way even more. Overall, I think these stages are on par with X1's, but when you get to it, I imagine your opinions could differ, because some people don't like this game.
Oh, we'll see how I feel. I'm not picky about that kind of stuff, but yeah.
Just the 2 things I liked less in comparison were the Maverick designs and the weapons. If I can get an image of the stage selection for X2 quickly. If you compare it to the selection for X1, all the designs, they pop out a lot less. They're a lot less lively.
Yeah.
And I don't like the portraits as much.
Yeah, I really like the stage select of Mega Man X1. It's
not as good. And yeah, X1 is great.
It's so good.
All the Mavericks, they're all unique. They all have their own thing. It's great. But they're all distinct and perfect.
Yeah.
The penguin, the armadillo, the mammoth, the chameleon, the quagga, the mandrill, the eagle, the octopus. The only issue is that mammoth and mandrill, they're both freaking huge in the game, and their portraits do not
don't capture that.
Them. They're so weird even now. X2s aren't as great, and their portraits don't do them any favors.
I understand.
Bubble Crab, which is like lame, and I would say Overdrive Ostrich has grown on me. Ostriches are lame, as you know, which is why I picked it first. But I like it now, and definitely fits its stage. Overall, the game feels less polished than X1, but the more I think about it, the more I don't think it bothered me. The endgame is paced better in some ways, and the final boss is about as rewarding. There's this dumb section you need to repeat every time you die, but
I would just use a save state or a rewind button for that.
That would be fair.
Yeah. That sounds really good. I'm really excited to get back into these.
I think you should be. Overall, I think these 2 games are on par, and maybe this is a hot take, probably. But I really enjoyed 2, and I like what it does to differentiate itself, even if it doesn't alter its gameplay. I'll have to see how my opinions evolve with future playthroughs, as you do. But if you enjoyed X1, I think you'll enjoy X2.
Kind of reminds me of Doom 1 and Doom 2 a bit.
A little. Some people prefer Doom 1 for its design choices. Some people prefer Doom 2 for its design choices.
Yeah, exactly.
I prefer 1, but I think they're both comparable in quality.
Definitely. Alright, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get on with our topic for today. I know it's already been a half hour, but listen, we really love video games, okay?
Games are just so fun.
I agree. I agree.
No one talks about the second Mega Man X game. I had to talk about it.
I understand. This week, one of our main topics is thoughts on 100% completing games, and how we feel about that. So, would anybody here is passionate about this topic like to start us off?
I wonder who could it be?
I expect to be in the minority of the opinion here, but it's fun to 100% complete games.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Tell us why.
I'm going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a minority opinion.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I think it kind of is.
I think it's
maybe that's a hot take.
I
but
think
don't
it
think
depends. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
But Ethan, tell us why.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why?
okay,
Why?
so first off, let me start by saying that if a game is just that unfun, that even no matter how you're trying to play it, you're not having fun with it, there's no point trying to complete something like that, right? I'm throwing that out there now. But if you're having enough fun with a game that you wouldn't mind playing it some more, and even if there's some suffering involved in completing the game, which there usually is, it's the sense of accomplishment and overcoming the obstacle, I guess, of 100% completing a game is sometimes it's really just not comparable to anything. It's just something satisfying about completely demolishing a game at times. That's the gist of it, I suppose.
Well,
I get that.
I can understand getting a lot out of mastering a game's mechanics, like Mega Man X, but I don't feel any need to 100% it. In fact,
I have
it
issues.
can up the difficulty sometimes if you don't get the upgrades and everything.
Yeah, like I have some issues with 100%ing games, but go ahead.
So, I think a lot of the issues with 100%ing games is that a lot of games just aren't built to reward that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
Like Gerard the Completionist whole channel based on like gauging how good a game is to complete. And like
he rarely ever gives the complete award for it.
Yeah, because just not a lot of games really make it worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I need to like there's only two games I've ever really had the drive to complete, and only one of them actually have completed. I'll get to them in a bit, but I feel like the game has to, for me personally, I just have to love just like literally everything about the game so much that I just can't get enough. I just want to do more and more and more. I just want to keep playing. I had that with Sonic Generations. Sonic Generations is like by far the best Sonic game I've ever played in my life. Holy, it's so good. I just had that was one which I got that like I want every inch of this game. I want it done. I want it completed. I want this game obliterated.
It's not very long either, is it?
It's not. The base game is not very long, but there's a lot of side things to do. Each stage has its like a bunch of little mini stages with that like change the levels up a bit, change the objectives, like get a certain amount of rings without getting hit, or like maybe some character specific ones, like you got to call in Tails or something, or like Knuckles to dig a hole and find a ring or something. Like it mixes it up, but just like the core game of just like going fast, like getting those times, getting those gold medals, like perfecting those runs, it's incredible. I felt the same way about the Outer Wilds. I'm not gonna.
Can't talk about that too much.
I can't talk about it too much, but I just want to say that that's just. I'm mainly going for the achievements. I've kind of technically completed it, but like that's just a game that I just can't get enough. I just want more of it.
I feel that
system, but not a lot of games do that.
Yeah,
I feel like it's very rare.
I find that rarely, if ever, is it worth it, because a lot of these side things in games, at least in the ones that I have played, are unfulfilling padding, and they don't yield much rewards that make the game any more fun. Like, most side missions and quests or stuff involve either doing tedious things or collecting a bunch of random bullshit. Like, one of the only exceptions that I can think of is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, because the side quests add so much to the world and its characters, and they're not all tedious and annoying to do. They're, like, a good chunk of them are special side story events that you would completely miss out on if you just did the main game. But otherwise, there's little reward or incentive to fully complete it. And in fact, there are some games that demonstrate you're not necessarily meant to. So developers will like put in a joke for doing 100% completion or doing a particularly obnoxious quest. Like the two biggest examples that I can think of are in Zelda Breath of the Wild, where if you collect all 900s of the Korok seeds, what do you get? You get the golden turd, exactly. And Devil May Cry 3, where if you get the highest possible rank on every single mission on the hardest difficulty, you will get a fun little image of the characters posing, and there's this text that pops up that says something along the lines of, you need to go outside.
Oh, come on.
I wanted to try and find this interview because I swear I remember hearing or reading about it somewhere, and I don't just want this to sound like I'm pulling this out of my ass, so take what I have to say with a grain of salt. But I swear I read somewhere somebody from Breath of the Wild saying that you were not meant to fully complete it, and that's part of the reason why the Korok Seeds reward is a golden turd. Because
honestly,
it's partially because of the laugh, and then, it's partially because, like, they didn't expect the game to be fully completed.
It's not built to be fully completed. Like,
it's
they don't
not
ask for that kind of, like, commitment to the stuff. Like, they're just supposed to be there to make the world more interesting. Mm-hmm. You're not necessarily supposed to conquer the whole world.
Exactly. And another thing, which ties into Breath of the Wild again, is my biggest issue with fully completing games is the burnout. Because you get burnt out really easily by doing all of that tedious padding and stuff. And if you force yourself to do it all, it can negatively impact your feelings towards the game. I have a very good friend whose opinion on Super Mario Galaxy was diminished because they felt the need to beat the entire game again after they unlocked Luigi.
That's pain.
Wonder who could it be?
Yeah, I wonder who it could be.
Well, let me just say, I felt the same way about the game the first playthrough, okay? That it just, I don't know, Galaxy 2 stuck with me a lot better than Galaxy 1
I prefer
did.
Galaxy 2. Galaxy 2 is more fun.
I'm on the other ballpark, but
Galaxy 2 is more fun.
I love them both, but yeah.
They're both great.
I do have a lot of sentiment for Galaxy 1 over Galaxy 2, but I don't know, I just much prefer Galaxy 2, really.
Next year, I plan on playing both of them back-to-back and seeing how I feel.
So for me, I really think it is game dependent, because there are some games that I could just not imagine 100% completing. Like they're just like, I don't know why I would do that. Like even games I like Titanfall 2, some of the achievements just seem like really boring and stuff. Like I don't know why I'd want to do that. That just doesn't sound fun. But other games, I don't know why. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about Steam, because Steam has a way of tracking it through achievements, where if you have every achievement in 90% of Steam games, that means you've 100% completed it. There are very few games where if you have all achievements, you can't say that you haven't, 100% completed. And
it also applies to all other achievement platforms like Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah, well, I know, but I'm specifically going to be talking about Steam because that's what I have the most connection to, and I've spent probably the most time on by a long shot. Where a number of games, well, I don't even know if I've actually 100% complete any games on Steam. There are a number of games that I've gone out of my way to get a number of achievements for, just for either the sake of them being rare or just that extra content. I specifically wanted to talk about Black Mesa. There's a number of achievements, I think probably my favorite being Unquestionably Ethical, where you have to go way out of your way to do something. In the case of Unquestionably Ethical, you have to let the Gonarch live. And if you know anything about Half-Life, there is an entire level and a half, basically, world and a half, where you are just running away. You fight the Gonarch, and then you spend the rest of a huge level part just running the fuck away before you do a final battle. And to save it, in the previous level area, you have to just grab a container and carry it with you through the entire level, place it on a teleporter, teleport it, and then you have to go through this whole thing, go to a special side area, and then you can just like choose to not put that in there. You just don't put the gas canister in the plug thing to like kill it with gas. Instead, you just leave it there, and you just take an alternate path. You leave and let it live. And there's just something so cool about having that extra choice through doing all that extra stuff. And of course, there's another achievement for killing it. And then there's some other really interesting ones like stealth technology, where you actually have to leave a hangar stealthily, like following what the guard says. The guard that you're with, you have to follow what he says. And there was something really fun about that. And it just made me enjoy it more, because after playing and beating the game, I was like, I want more.
Yeah, that side stuff is fun, but how do you feel about like fully completing it? I
think fully completing it in a way sort of gives you that full like extra, while also kind of tying it all back together in a game that does it right. I don't think all games are worth 100%ing. TF2, I love the shit out of TF2, but I doubt I am ever going to 100% complete it, like going for it. Maybe naturally I will, but there are some achievements that like there's a few that require you to like win on a map 150 times, but it's like a map very few people play on. Or there's one that requires you to parachute. Yeah, I know, but it still counts. It still counts. There is a point where you have to, I think it's parachute 19 kilometers a soldier. I don't use the parachute. It's a bad weapon. It's the only bad soldier weapon. Why would I do that? That's not fun. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, it's like, I don't want to do that. But another game like Terraria, for instance, I've been hunting down some of the achievements, because
they are fun to do.
Terraria is one of those games where it's like you can. I think maybe one of the few games where you technically do have to beat the game, but you can get 99% of achievements on your first playthrough, just like by doing it. Like, you don't even have to exactly hunt all of them down, because they all fit naturally. And I feel like it's a game that really does it right, where if you 100% complete it, it feels earned, and it brings some sense of closure to the game, because usually even beating the final boss, there isn't really a sense of closure there. And I think 100% completing it sort of like brings it in.
There are pretty much two games I think are golden standards for 100%ing. Mega Man X, which I mentioned earlier, because it's just so short and so easy to do.
Yeah.
If you're gonna 100% it, you know the game like the back of your hand, let's be real.
Right.
And Batman Arkham Asylum, because I actually feel rewarded when I get things in that game.
Asylum was really good, because the size of the map overall just made it a lot easier to do things like hunt Riddler trophies. I don't like getting the Riddler trophies in any of the other Arkham games.
Fetch quests are always the like killer of things. It's the one reason why I don't want 100% Half-Life 2 episodes 1, 2, and 3 is because there's some fetch quests in there. Like the quest.
Wait, hang on. What?
Episode 3?
Episode 3.
What?
Episode 3.
What?
No,
you have Half-Life 2 episode 3?
Episode 1, 2. Yeah.
Can I have
it? God damn it. I think it's episode 2 where you have to kill all of the bugs in one of the sections. Get some grub. Squash every Antillean grub in episode 2. I don't want to do that. That's not fun. Like, I'm cool with, like, the Black Mesa one where you have to, like, carry the purple hat throughout the entire game, or episode 2 where you got to carry the gnome, because that adds, like, an extra layer of difficulty and skill on top of it. You really have to show your mastery, and while it can be difficult, it's, like, it's still kind of rewarding that you did this super hard challenge. But, like, just running around killing grubs or, like, finding, I don't know, finding anything is really annoying, and it's part of the reason why I've never been a huge Mario 64 fan or super interested in any of the, or Odyssey fan really, is that like I just don't find it fun to go around and try and collect these things. And obviously there's further reasons why I'm not huge into Odyssey or 64, like Odyssey just constantly giving you really easy moons for existing. But like I've never been a huge go out of my way, like fetch quest, find 500 of these sort of thing. It's just, it's not interesting. It's like fluff. Like you said, it was like padding to the game.
It's padding, yeah. That is exactly how I feel about it.
I can't really blame developers for holding 100% in games as an afterthought, because
like that's such a small minority of players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no one gives a shit about them.
For the most part.
Sorry,
yeah.
Ethan. Sorry, Ethan.
I mean, I got you. Yeah.
Ethan really is a minority.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would handle it, because I would need to have some extra things in my game.
Well, it's the thing about making
I wouldn't consider
completable.
anyone to get all of them.
Like, it's
Actually, wait,
that
that just
you have to
reminded
design
me.
it. You have to. I feel like you have to. You can't just like, oh, I want to make the game completable, do that. Like, because it's so much more than that. Like, you need to have, like, a perfect gameplay loop, or have incredibly rewarding, experiences for doing those things. Like,
yeah, like
that's not
Majora's
really something
Mask.
you can just. That requires time and effort. Like, a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make it work, and not all games will work for it, so it's usually not worth the trouble for developers.
Exactly.
Let alone for players, really.
Yeah.
This is kind of related to 100%ing, because I've never been huge on COD, but Warzone was one of the few. I think mostly because it was free, was something I really enjoyed, and it sort of had this thing where there's skins that you have to get basically every other skin on that weapon to get it. So to get the gold skin, I think it was, you have to get every other skin on that weapon, and you get it from doing things like getting a certain number of long range kills or hip fire kills, so on and so forth. By getting these specific type of kills, you can get skins. Once you get all of them for that weapon, you get gold.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like, once you get all golds for a specific type of weapon, like assault rifle, then you get another skin. And then once you get that skin for every single one, for every weapon in the game, you get like this final like super ultra rare skin. And I feel like that's in a way sort of a good way of doing it for, I think, frankly, low effort, because I had the gold skin on the M4 and the Grau in the game, and that was purely through just playing Warzone. I didn't pay for the normal game, so I had to get all those special kills and stuff through Warzone, and it took a long time, but there was something really rewarding about running around with the gold weapon on.
Yeah.
And
I
think
never felt too strongly about gold skins.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge gold guy, but like having accomplished that and then having my gun show off for it is nice. And I think having skins like that and having even small cosmetic things in multiplayer games, at least, because there are multiplayer games you can 100%. Like obviously you'll never truly be done with it, but you can like 100% in quotes it. And I feel like cosmetic ads.
Enjoyed doing that.
I think cosmetic ads for it really add something to it, and I think single player games could do something similar to that. Like give a new way to play the game, or a new maybe look on the game from 100%ing it.
Yeah.
It's just so difficult coming up with a reward for completing a game, because like what's there to do once you do fully complete it?
Yeah. What do you do?
Like, that's exactly the thing, is why it mostly depends on your overall mood with the game, is that by nature of 100% completing games, there's not really much you can reward the player with that would be worth it. So, because, again, you've done everything there is to do in the game by that point, so anything you get is not really gonna improve your experience in much of any way. So
Also,
I think it's just more so the game is the reward, like the fact that you spent the time on that game. If you just love it that much, then that's an intrinsic motivation for its reward. Like, it's just worth it to play the game.
Absolutely.
That's why something besides that.
That's the Kingdom Hearts 2 crown.
Mm-hmm.
That was also something I enjoyed. I got the second crown. I didn't get the third one.
Go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, that's why I think it appeals to me so much, is because I prioritize, as far as how I feel about games, gameplay over anything else. Like, it's...
Yep.
If the gameplay of a game is just that good, then anything else that's not up to par, I can sort of look past. So I guess when I complete a game, it's generally because I enjoy the gameplay, and completing the game just gives me more of a reason to keep playing the game other than just starting over from scratch.
Yeah.
So, like, the first game I had ever completed was, like, original Kingdom Hearts 1 on the PS2, I believe. Well, I guess it would be one of the Zelda games, maybe, but that was, like, almost an accident, really, and I had help from my older brother at some point.
So yeah.
But the first I'd really completed on my own was Kingdom Hearts 1. And the last thing I had done on it, you know, there's some side content that's very tedious to do, but it let me play the game more and just feel more of the combat and such, which I greatly enjoy. And the last thing I had done on it was the Sephiroth boss fight, which the reward you get from that is a Keyblade with bad stats, but a good critical hit rate, so it's not a good one at all. So the reward for that fight itself is extremely underwhelming, but playing the game and beating that fight is its own reward, really. And I guess that's how I feel about completing most things, is just being able to play the game more is sort of its own reward. Like, I was going through Super Paper Mario the other day and completing that stuff that I had left over. There's, like, basically collectible cards of enemies that I had very few of, and I wanted to just get the whole collection. And the grind for that was very tedious, but I like the gameplay of that game, so during the grind, I would just kind of sidetrack from time to time to just goof around, and it made it an enjoyable grind, I suppose, to just play the game in bits as I did it. So, you know, with JRPGs being my favorite genre, that's a difficult genre to go about 100%ing, just by nature of how they work. Like, Final Fantasy VII was, I don't know, it wasn't that bad. Like, I got all the materia, beat all the weapons and such. So,
you play which version did you play? Because I'm gonna have to disagree with you when it comes to Vanilla 7.
I played on the PS4, but I limited myself such that I did not use any of the codes.
Okay.
I was practically playing vanilla, and I didn't really mind it at all.
My issues with 7, my biggest issue I have with 7 is the awful high random encounter rate, because it feels like you can't even take 3 steps without getting into a fight.
It's not that bad for me, because when I don't want to fight, I just run away. And it's not a terribly long time for each fight to start up and then cancel. So I'm usually not very picky about encounter rates in those games, just because if I fight them, then later parts of the game become just a little bit easier, and then if I don't want to fight them, I can just run.
Yeah, I feel that it's just, for me at least, it doesn't seem as long, because, you know, you get the encounter, you have to wait for the animation to play where it zooms in, you have that cute little screen effect where it fades in, and then the screen cuts to black, it fades in, and then you gotta wait for your turn because you're not able to immediately start at the start of the fight, so you have to like wait for your limit bar, or not your limit bar, the time bar. Since
ATB.
It's time ATB, that's what it was. You have to wait for that to fill before you can make any action at all, and then you have to take the chance to run away, and if you don't successfully run away, well, then you just end up getting screwed potentially. So I really don't like random encounters at all. I really like later JRPGs where you have the option to choose whether or not to engage with the enemy, sort of, to an extent.
I certainly enjoy that more than completely random encounters, but I've never really had much issue with random encounters themselves. Like, it's an inconvenience at worst to me. So
it's
Yeah.
especially painful when you're trying to
Play a
do a
lot of
puzzle.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, most games like that have something anyway that works, like a repel to keep random encounters away or lessen them a bit. Dragon Quest is a good example, where a lot of the time you'll get something pretty early on that repels weaker enemies, such that you'll only really find random encounter issues if you're somewhere where the enemies are stronger than you are. So
Yeah.
it's not that bad. But overall, I'd say with completing games, it purely depends on how much you enjoy the raw process of just playing the game.
Yeah.
I can't say I would bother completing games if I just didn't have fun simply playing the game.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like it's almost mandatory.
My conclusion on this, when I was thinking about it, was just that the way this should be handled just depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
And
it also purely depends on the game.
Pretty subjective. Yeah, it's subjective enough to the game.
Will never be a make or break thing for me in a game. Like, Arkham Origins has absolutely horrible side content.
Yeah.
But I still love the game. And yeah,
you shouldn't feel compelled to do it all. Like, I have another very good friend of mine whose opinion on Breath of the Wild was extremely soured because they felt compelled to fully complete it twice.
Okay, that's kind of
So you tell me they completed the master thing too?
I believe so.
What's wrong with them?
Imagine completing Zelda Breath of the Wild 100% and saying, "I'll do that again.
I'll do that again."
I couldn't even be bothered to do it once.
Yeah, no. If you are playing the game past the point where it's fun anymore, that is when you need to stop. If it's fun to fully complete a game for you, then fully complete it. But stop when you are having fun, and don't let the desire to fully complete it impact your overall impression of the game. Is my bottom line for it.
Technically have to do sour your opinion on a game.
Yeah. Generally, I'll aim for completing a game, and then at a certain point, it just stops feeling fun, and then I stop playing it for like 6-7 months, and then go back to it once it's fresh to me again. So you're right. It just go until you stop having fun, and then say screw it and stop.
Yeah.
And then you feel up for it again at any point, continue.
Yeah. There's so many games out there.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Why bother?
Yeah.
The only I've ever 100% completed, or I guess technically Pokemon, because all I count for 100%ing it is completing the Pokédex, and basically every Lego game I've ever played, which is a lot. I don't know why, I just really like 100%ing Lego games.
Yeah, close enough.
I don't really remember much about how much I enjoyed the Lego games, but they were pretty good.
I thought it was alright, but the only one I really remember is the first Lego Star Wars.
They all look the same with different skins to me.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay.
We'll get into that topic another day, I guess.
Yeah.
Our next topic for today. Lego Games Cast.
Let's move on.
The next topic for today is what aspect of a game compels you to buy it?
Well, I guess I can start.
Spider-Man.
Please do.
Spider-Man.
I think I've already said this twice in the podcast, but most games I've played for attachment to the franchises.
Yeah.
I've been completely spoiled every Zelda, Metroid, Mario, Kirby, and Smash game.
You've been spoiled for Smash? What?
Spoiler
alert, Mario's in!
I can't...
Oh, you mean like leaks and stuff.
I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Taboo kills everyone.
Oh, no.
I
haven't even played Brawl yet. Why would you say that?
I haven't
even
even
Mario?
Melee.
Especially Mario. Mario had the bloodiest death. I honestly can't believe Sakurai got away with that.
There is blood on Master Hand. Well,
there actually is, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It was a very bold writing decision to have Samus be forced to just blow up Wario like that. Like he was so far gone that Samus just had to put him out of his misery. He went out like a soldier though, God rest his soul.
It was a very strange
that game
decision
really
by the
deserved
director.
its T rating.
It really deserved its T rating.
Really deserved it. Like they worked for that.
It couldn't possibly be E+10.
Oh
Well,
no.
Well, I tried those games and I liked them, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But they're obviously not good examples to go by, so I will take Mega Man X and, more importantly, Doom. I'm sorry I keep mentioning these two games.
Nah, yeah, it's
wait,
fine.
Wait, did you buy these games though?
Yeah, actually.
Oh. Well, how else would you get video games? Pirating? No, we would never condone that on the stream.
We do not
You're
condone
right, never.
piracy on this podcast.
Not on this podcast, no sir.
Specifically.
Specific podcast.
Actually, I won't even talk about Mega Man X. I've just mentioned it too much. I got Doom 2016 in like June of this year because I imagined the frenetic, violent gameplay. You know, when you tear out a demon with your bare hands.
You know.
Might appeal to me.
As you do.
Well, I wasn't very familiar with the franchise, and I was right.
Mm-hmm.
This led me to try out the old games because they looked fun, and I knew they had aged very well. And very importantly to my point here, I had heard people say, both critics and people close to me, that it was a good game. If I know something is good, and it looks fun, I try it out. And that's basically it. And if I don't know much about it, I go on the Wikipedia page as the bare minimum to learn some things about it and know and have an idea of whether or not I would like it. Hollow Knight and Celeste, I knew they were fantastic games.
Mm-hmm.
Their aesthetic, they looked very cool, they look very unique. I know they're indies, and they were cheap, so I got them.
Have you played them?
No, but that's not the point.
That's not the point. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I did try Hollow Knight. I played it to a point, but still. I think I communicated my point there.
Yeah.
For me personally, especially when it's not like I have a whole lot of money to go around. The question for me is like, is this going to be worth my money? Like for what gets me to look at a game is like, for one thing, music. There's been a lot of games like Celeste, like Hollow Knight, that I heard the music and I was like,
yeah,
I have to have this. But for a lot, it's like, am I gonna get my money's worth out of this? Even if I don't play it now, even if I play it sometime down the line, like, is this going to be a purchase that is well made?
Right.
Like especially with Dead by Daylight DLC. I've only recently bought a few because they were heavily on sale, but it's like I don't know how much time I'm gonna spend on this game, and I don't want to get something for something and then not use it, because then I've just wasted money. So, but I guess, yeah, just for sort of like what makes me like I want this game, it's usually, so it's the music, if it has a compelling art style or aesthetic, from a franchise that either I have a strong connection to or I've heard great things about. Whether friends are playing it, that's a lot of times that's a big deal, is whether you have people to play. That's a big deal.
Especially with multiplayer games that have either with strangers or with friends. If I have friends, I will never go with strangers.
Yeah, no, I find most multiplayer games suck if you're not playing with friends.
Yeah, like why playing a multiplayer game without friends is just weird to me.
Sad.
Yeah.
You're kind of just opening yourself up to immeasurable amounts of toxicity when you only play with strangers.
Yeah.
So you're just not going to have a good time if you're not playing with friends.
Just the simple act of playing with friends adds so much to an experience. Like, why wouldn't you just play with friends?
I think an exception for me, honestly, personally, is TF2, because TF2, it's a game I can usually, if I'm playing TF2, there's a good chance I'm by myself queuing for casual, and I just have like a podcast or something in the background. You know, hey, you could do that with this podcast, eh?
But, yeah, maybe.
I just throw something I want to listen to in the background and just sort of play it. And it's like, but for the most part, I will agree. I don't play Rainbow unless I have friends playing. I don't play Titanfall usually unless unless I have friends playing it, because most online games aren't fun unless you have someone else to like joke around with or play with, someone that you actually know and have a connection with, and
the
probably
core
won't
of
be
the game
toxic.
has to be good enough to be worth playing it as it is, and not just.
And I find that team-based games are not that case, because
I find very rarely the case.
Yeah.
There are basically two reasons I don't play many competitive games. I don't play MOBAs. I don't play more MMORPGs, whatever, and competitive shooters. Not only because I don't have friends, but because there's such a commitment.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it is true, but I wasn't expecting you to laugh.
Oh, now you make me feel bad.
Yeah, Jort Knight.
The way that I don't have friends in a podcast full of your friends just made me laugh.
Do any of you play these games?
Not really, no.
Is that how you feel about us, Phantom?
But yeah, I'm basically the same way with a lot of these points. I think the biggest aspect that will compel me to buy it is the franchise, because if it is a franchise that I am very dedicated to, like Zelda or Devil May Cry, it's usually going to be a day one buy from me. After that, it's the staff that's behind the game. Like, did the staff work on a game that I have loved in the past? If that's the case, then hell yeah, I'm gonna buy it. Dragon's Dogma and Final Fantasy 16 are both games that I have bought or I'm going to buy because they have had.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Resident Sleeper. Anyways, because both games have had Devil May Cry staff work on them. And so I highly expect great combat out of them, even if they're not necessarily Devil May Cry. And then after that, it's the genre. Because, like, Metroid died a while ago. You could say Samus Returns, was the return, quote-unquote, but for all intents and purposes, I'd like to say that it's dead. Castlevania's also dead. So, like, Metroidvanias are pretty much just coming from indie developers now. And so that's why I'm really interested in, Ori, Hollow Knight, Guacamelee, stuff like that. I really want to play those games because I just enjoy Metroidvanias that much.
Okay, I don't know if Ori is still quite considered indie because they're like heavily Microsoft back now.
Well,
is
now,
Cuphead
but
still
yeah.
considered indie?
Yeah, it's still indie. Cuphead's still indie.
Okay, there you go.
Fair enough.
Sort of.
I will be honest. There's a little sad in an industry where indies struggle to get by and often are very good. But the main factor, the biggest factor, is name value. If your brand is good, if your company is good, if the franchise's name is good,
if it's franchisable, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, then I'm bound to get it.
Exactly.
If it's something like
the pure fact of a Mario game being a Mario game just sells boatloads.
Yeah, but also just Mario-inspired platformers just work well as well because you got A Hat in Time.
Yeah,
which came out roughly the same time as Odyssey.
Actually,
they're both a little bit before. But like, they were both really, really good 3D platformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mario capitalized on the platformer genre in such a way that if a game is inspired by Mario, like as a platformer game, then chances are the people behind it really know what they're doing and are making something of pretty good quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What when was the last time you guys went regularly to physical stores to buy games?
I never
That's
leave
a
my
good question.
house.
Especially considering this year.
I know especially not now, but I mean, because I know for sure for me, like that was how I got games. Was I went to GameStop.
New releases, I always want.
I still, up until what happened this year happened, I would still pick up new releases from GameStop that I pre-ordered just so I didn't have to wait for the 1 or 2 days shipping and I could play it as soon as possible.
I usually get digital.
Yeah, I usually get digital, and honestly, I've been even considering taking my digital that I already have and trying to make them physical, but keeping them mostly digital, just because it's a lot faster and easier for me. And I find that with physical, I start to lose space, and everything gets very cluttered, and I don't have that problem with digital. It's very easy for me to organize.
I like to have physical things because I like having a physical collection, and at the same time, I am not a fan of the notion of digital stores having too much control
Absolute control
of the games
Killing,
themselves.
pre-owned and shit.
Yeah.
No, this is all.
This is a
like,
topic
true.
for another time, but I agree.
But yeah.
But the reason I brought it up was like, for a lot of my childhood when I was playing games, all I knew about a game was seeing it for the first time on a shelf. Like you got your front, you got your back, you got a little description, maybe some blurbs here and there. What I'm asking is that if you guys can remember, what about that specific experience led you to like, I want this game that you just found on a shelf?
Okay, yeah. So you're asking, you didn't know anything about the game before.
First time hearing. What is this? Super Mario Galaxy 2? What is this?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever actually did that. I think most of the games that I got growing up were games that I already liked, from franchises that I had already liked before.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Any games that I got when I was younger were like, a friend had this game and told me about it, and I'm like, oh hey, that's pretty neat. I might pick that up too.
Yeah.
So,
I wasn't exposed to many franchises as a kid. I'd say the main thing I was exposed to was Mario, and that was it. I didn't really know anything about anything else. When I would just look at a show, I would spend like an hour at GameStop just like looking at all the games. There's just something about just like browsing a game store that's just so appealing to me, and I still do it if I find myself in GameStop to this day. But like, I guess it's like
nowadays we're just so knowledgeable about all of the games and stuff that come out that it makes it so much easier to make a decision as to whether or not we'll actually buy it.
I was actually amazed to find out how every game I might get, I know about. I never look at something and say, hey, I'll get this.
Yeah, with how things are today, it's like a guarantee that you know something about pretty much any game you'd ever want to get.
Yeah.
Well, like, why wouldn't you? Like, there's no reason not to educate yourself, because that helps you feel confident about you spending your money on this experience.
And even things like social media and such, odds are, if it's a game you didn't know about, you're gonna know about it at some point.
Yeah.
Stuff
like The Last of Us 2. Like, there's nobody that doesn't know about how The Last of Us 2 ended up, whether you care about it or not.
The only way you wouldn't know is if you just did not exist on the internet ever since it released.
Yeah.
There are still times, like on Steam, I'll come across a game. Not as much now as I used to, but I was just like, wow, this game looks awesome. I want this. But to be fair, it also has a review system, so you get to see what people are talking about, which you don't necessarily get at GameStop. In that case, I will still stumble across a game and like, you know what? I want that game.
I still would need to know more about it beforehand because, I mean, especially in this day and age with money and everything, I don't like taking blind risks or purchases or anything like that.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure where to take this topic anymore.
Well, has everyone, Techno, have you?
What?
I agree.
No, I've been paying attention. I don't know if your mic cut out. You just didn't finish the question. I heard Techno. Are you?
I was just like, are you? Do you have anything to say about?
Yeah, what compels you to buy the game? Yeah.
If it just looks cool, to be honest. Like, I'm fine with buying a game I know absolutely nothing about, because like, if it's in a genre I like, and
well, then you know something about it, then, don't you?
And like, cover just looks cool. I'll just pick it up.
Okay.
I'll buy a certain game like that on the spot.
What about you, Ethan?
I touched up on this a little bit in the 100% topic, but it's primarily gameplay. Like, I do have an attachment for certain franchises and such, so that may sway me from time to time, such as Mario and Final Fantasy, to name some examples. But it's mainly gameplay. Like, if I've never heard anything about a game before, Devil May Cry is a good example here, where I know next to nothing about that franchise, other than the gameplay is really fun in most of the games. And that sort of puts it higher up on my list of things I want to play next. Because, like, as long as the music isn't killing my ears or the visuals aren't killing my eyes, if the gameplay is fun, then I'm gonna have a blast playing the game just by default.
The music won't kill your ears, but I'm admittedly not the biggest Devil May Cry fan when it comes to the music. Like, I'm a huge Devil May Cry fan, of course, but, like, its music has just never really stood out to me all that much. I honestly think that one has the best soundtrack in the game, and then the rest kind of just... Like, they're not bad at all, but they're kind of repetitive, and it doesn't stand out a whole lot.
It's actually... You can finish.
Yeah, it's like the difference between Final Fantasy 15 and 7 Remake, that both of them have decent quality all around, at least decent quality, such in, like, the music and the visual quality, characters, story. But the gameplay of 15, I've never played the game, but from what I've seen, heard, read up on, it's so boring and monotonous that as much as I love the Final Fantasy series, I cannot bring myself to play that game. I've been going through the franchise, and I'm saving that one for completely last. If 16 comes out before I get to 15, I'm playing 16 first.
Oh, absolutely.
And then you've got 7 Remake. The gameplay is so unbelievably fun that, you know, I've completed that game, and then I completed it on the unlockable hard difficulty, and I'm probably going to do it again on the unlockable hard difficulty, because the game is just that fun to me, gameplay-wise, that that's just what sells me.
Now that we've talked about it, it's actually a little crazy to think about how much the medium has been consumed by franchises.
Well, that's the case for, I think, every medium, honestly.
True, but, you know,
movies,
still.
stuff like that.
And
I think maybe books could be argued are the least consumed by it, but even then, a lot of the most popular stuff is obviously franchises. You can think about things like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, but I wouldn't say, compared to other more visual mediums, that it's as taken over, because there's lots of amazing standalone works, and I feel like writing sort of plays into that better than movies and stuff do, because it generally, I'd say it's a lot cheaper to produce than these other things, so there's less of a need to rely on something like a franchise, because making these high quality movies and stuff, like, they take millions of dollars for the most part, and games take so long to make and so much manpower, and so, like, really in a lot of cases you do end up wanting to rely on this stuff, especially corporations, because it's a lot safer, and you could potentially get even more money than off of something original, while a book is mostly just like someone who's competent and who has ideas really just putting it down.
Not only that, but like there's an extent that you can really draw out a story to the point where it becomes enough of a franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's be real. Shows, films, they're more mainstream.
That too.
That's part of it, but like even the most famous novels, if there's no room for additional entries, like, let's say, To Kill a Mockingbird or something like that,
well,
you
if
know,
you're starting out with reading, you will read the classics, some franchises, and the most important stuff. But if you're into reading, you will probably read a lot of shit that none of us have heard about.
Yeah.
I will say one of my favorite books, probably, like, I talk about this a lot whenever someone talks to me about books, but I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, one of my favorite, like, horror books. It's so good. There is basically no room for a sequel. Like, in my mind, I don't think you could make
You couldn't do that, yeah.
or a spin-off of anything. It is a standalone work, and it should be like that. And I feel like generally, when it comes to books and movies, and I mean personally, I feel like there's less room for that, because even series that have been franchises and stuff, there's something about when visuals are added to the medium that makes me want to stay there and learn more about the world and what could be there. And when I'm visualizing in my head when I'm reading a book, it's so much easier for me to create that world when I've only read when the only thing that I visualized has been in my head, and I haven't really been told too much of what to visualize. I feel like it's easier for me to complete the world in my head as compared to something like a TV show or a movie or a game. And so I find myself wanting a sequel less for most books, unless it's very clear that it was setting up for a sequel. Like it's just like a part of a fuller story.
Yeah,
I'm generally satisfied with one, and I find that a lot of the times with games and stuff, I'm not as satisfied. And so I think that's another reason that we see this sequel tendency in games and movies and TV shows that we don't really see in books.
They're a bit more open-ended, yeah.
I'm trying to think of any one game that has that nature of no sequels.
Any single game with no sequel?
I can't think of anything.
I think that Cuphead is getting a show.
It's getting...
So
it's getting a show.
It's getting franchised.
Probably the only one that immediately comes to mind would be the Mother series. I mean, I know it's a series, but like the creator specifically said that after Mother 3, he specifically said it's all done. There shouldn't be any more.
That is why I don't consider Mother dead. I consider it ended.
It's over. Yeah. It's not a dead franchise. It's a series that's reached a natural conclusion.
F-Zero, it can actually continue. Mother can't.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're done for now, aren't
we? I think we just about covered it.
Yeah, I think we've covered just about everything we could.
Yep.
This was a really good episode. I really liked this a lot.
I really liked it too. We had a good time.
I agree.
I hope we get back on Ethan.
Ooh.
Yeah, Ethan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. I hope you show up more in the future.
Yeah.
I had to show up for this one since I am, of course, the resident completionist. But I'll try to show up for more from this point. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Suggest some topics if you want to have something to talk about.
Yes, please suggest topics. Yes. Please suggest topics.
Gotcha.
We have for like the remainder of the year, but after that,
yeah, we're a little boned.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, dear viewers.
Yes, thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much for listening. We greatly appreciate it.
In Jude's place, I will say Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.